Now, welcome back to the second part of the programme. We're going to be talking to Louise Kelly from Oasis House in a second about domestic violence. We're also going to talk to Anthony Butler regarding testing and COVID testing. Bernadette Ryan is coming on to talk about relationships and the impact, I suppose, of social media and particular aspects of social media on relationships. We're also going to talk to Gemma from the West Waterford Festival of Food. A woman in Lismore has phoned 051 846 123, Lismore Park. She lives on the gable end house of one of the roads. So many problems with people leaving their dog poo on the green, firing the bags in the shrubbery. She had to get an environmental sign put up, but it still hasn't stopped. And there's even people who'll be well known in the area allowing their dogs to poo there. Angela phoned in to say she's sick of washing the path outside her house at Ardnagrania with Dettol and water. Some of the dog walkers that do pick up go a bit up the road and then dump the bags outside of Welsh Park. Anne from a scenic area in Dungarvan says they have a huge problem with dog poop. When she points it out to a person that their dog has pooed, they pretend that they haven't seen it. It's just not right, folks. Please, please, please pick up after your dogs. It really is very, very important from a health perspective. We're also going to be talking to a number of other people about... there's a lady phoned from St John's Park, Bridget. If you just want to phone in again, Bridget, just want to get your phone number, we might give you a shout back. Now, there's a domestic violence TV ad starting today. The radio ad has started as well. Here's the domestic violence TV ad, and it is quite crackly because the woman who's making the call is supposed to be hiding from her abuser as she makes this call.
You just put up Stephen, she said.
Is it okay if I call you back? I was just on the phone.
Who are you talking to?
I was talking to Deise.
Liar. Tell me who you were talking to.
I was just talking to Deise. I can take my phone. I am down.
Stop crying. No one cares.
Quite shocking, quite graphic, quite upsetting, the ads, but very real for an awful lot of women, for some men as well. And we'll be talking to Louise Kelly about men being victims of abuse as well. But the vast majority are women, and it is horrendous, and a lot of women are suffering in silence. Louise Kelly, Oasis House, the facility here in Waterford. Louise, tell us, what do you do at Oasis House?
Oasis House Women's Refuge, we provide support to any woman or woman with child experiencing domestic abuse. Both in terms of the service provision, we have a 24/7 helpline. So any woman who's experiencing domestic abuse can call 1890 264 364. When they phone that number, they'll get to speak with a member of our domestic abuse team. The member of staff will provide emotional support to the woman, information in relation to the options that are available to her. So that would include legal options, safety planning, or if required, staff will assess for crisis accommodation at the refuge. Just in terms of safety planning, just to talk a bit more about that.
Yeah, have you many beds there, by the way, or much space there? Do you mind me asking?
How many units of accommodation? We have 15 units of accommodation.
15 units.
Yeah.
And would they accommodate? Are they single bed rooms, or are there rooms that a mother might be able to bring children with her, or what's the story?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a mix. So there's a mixture of family units. So they would range from smaller family units for 1 or 2 children, and they would go up to units of accommodation where larger families could be accommodated. In Oasis House, I suppose we have the units that would be in the refuge, so in the main building. Those units, I suppose, is a mixture of family units, and there are single units in there as well. Yeah. And then we have units, larger units that would accommodate larger families that would be on site as well.
Have you many people there at the minute?
At the moment, we have a number of women and families at the moment. We do. Yeah.
You might see them a number of times, or because abuse, unfortunately, may be a one-off, but for women, it's not just a one-off, isn't it?
It's not. For many women, it's they're living in those situations for a number of years. For some women, it can be very difficult to leave those situations. There is many barriers to a woman leaving an abusive situation, and I suppose at times people don't know the options that are available to them when they do want to leave those situations. So we can have situations where we'd have women who may be phoning the helpline, a number of times. They may choose, I suppose, to leave at some point, or for some, they may choose not to leave. I suppose it's important to say that we're a non-directive service. We would decision of the woman in terms of that. The main priority will be that the woman, and if there's children, in the situation as well, that they are safe. So whether that's safe in the environment that they're living in, if they choose to stay, or if that's safe if they wish to leave. On
a purely personal and I suppose a human level, Louise, I'd say some of the stories you hear are just horrendous, are they?
They are. Yeah, as you can imagine, I suppose, we've all seen the, what's out there in the media and social media.
And the new ads are out now, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. The new campaign, the Still Here campaign. And, unfortunately, they're not fiction. They're not exaggerated. They would be, real scenarios that women are living in every day in their lives.
The ads that are out on radio and telly now, they're quite graphic, I suppose, and quite shocking. And they have to be shocking, I suppose, in a way, don't they?
They do. I suppose it's the shocking situation that a lot of women are living in, and a lot of children that are in those families, and the abuse that they are exposed to. It is a really important campaign to highlight that services are still available. I suppose there's so much uncertainty at this time that it is really important that those who are experiencing domestic abuse are aware that services are still available to help and support you. I suppose, and just from a local level, it's also important for us to echo that the message of the Still Here campaign to reassure victims of domestic violence that support is still available during COVID-19. I suppose we at Oasis House, we remain a frontline essential service at this time. So we're available 24/7 to meet the needs of women and children who are in that situation and experiencing domestic abuse.
Yes, the vast majority of abuse is against women. We do get questions sometimes. Is there anything for men out there if men are being abused, or is that...
There are.
Yeah.
No, there are. There's services out there for men as well. I suppose we in the refuge would accommodate and provide services for women and children, but there's also a number of services out there that would provide support to men who are in those situations.
Yes.
The website details services for both men and women, the stillhere.ie, and there are absolutely services available for men as well.
And some of the women that come to you, I presume, there's just fear and there's worry, and they may have been violently attacked, but also the mental pressure that some women are out there, the abuse that takes place, the non-physical abuse that takes place for women out there.
Yeah,
absolutely. It just must be horrendous.
It is, yeah, it absolutely is. I suppose abuse comes in many forms. It doesn't just have to be physical. The woman doesn't have to have, bruises and have the physical markings of the abuse. There's many other forms that a perpetrator and many other means that they can use to abuse a woman. It can be physical, but it can also be emotional and psychological. There's sexual abuse. There's many forms of abuse that a man can use against a woman. I suppose at the root of it is the power and control element, trying to have power and control over another person in a relationship. And
do you think there is a lot more there's obviously a lot more stress. Do you think there's more abuse going on now because of the lockdown, effectively?
I suppose in terms of the abuse that's going on, I suppose the abuse there's no respite from it for the woman.
Yes, that's it, yeah.
I suppose, yeah. So in situations where a woman may have been able to get out, of the house, maybe just a school run, visit family and friends, they don't have that opportunity now. I suppose we're all being advised to stay at home to stay safe. For some that, it's not a safe place. For those experiencing domestic abuse, they can't safely make a phone call to seek help or support. For those who may have been accessing maybe our support line, before, our 24/7 number, they may not have the opportunity to do that now. Children also living in the homes where there's domestic abuse, they no longer have the safe haven of school, so that makes it equally vulnerable for them. I suppose then, that coupled with that there's more free time, people being off work, alcohol consumption and substance misuse may increase. So this increases the risk to women and children. I suppose it's important to say that, it's the root of domestic abuse is, and it remains to be, power and control. But I suppose alcohol and substance abuse and the added stresses then maybe of losing a job or financial worries, it does definitely accelerate the situation. So it leads to out of control behaviours and actions, and that heightens the risk to those who are experiencing domestic abuse in the home. Definitely, I suppose that would be a factor that would be very prevalent now, during COVID-19.
And it's a big deal, a massive, massive step for a woman to take herself and her children out of a house in certain situations. And I presume as well that it might even be more difficult, the fact that there may be COVID out there, that some women that may want to leave, may want to go to Oasis House, might think, oh, I don't want to put my children in a potentially more harmful situation, or herself in a more harmful situation. So you've been very careful, obviously. You don't have COVID at Oasis House, and you've been very careful there what you're doing. So you can guarantee women that do want to go to you that it is a very safe place.
We can say that Oasis House is a very safe place. I suppose the layout of our service means that we have self-contained units that we're using. So the woman wouldn't be accessing communal areas in terms of having contact with others. So it is possible to adhere to the 2 metre rule that we're all being advised to adhere to. In terms of not having a lot of contacts with others, that is possible within the refuge as well. So it is a safe place. We do have, many procedures in place from the very beginning of when, this was when COVID-19, when this started, from the outset of it. So we were prepared, I suppose, and we put a lot of, work into that. And just in terms of the restrictions on movements, I suppose, just in case any woman is in that situation and they are concerned in relation to leaving, a perpetrator of an abusive situation, just that the restrictions on movement, they do not apply to a person escaping from a risk of harm or seeking to access essential services. So in other words, the 2 kilometre rule, it does not apply to you if you are in that situation and you want to leave that situation. I suppose we work very closely with the Gardaí, and we can, if somebody is feeling unsafe in their home and they need to access refuge accommodation, we can liaise with the Gardaí to support them to access our accommodation.
Yeah, that's very important.
Yeah, and I suppose if it is an emergency situation or somebody is feeling unsafe in any way, just please phone the Gardaí on 999 or 112.
Do you find, is it those that access your services, are they from all classes of society, or rich and poor?
Absolutely. I suppose domestic abuse, it doesn't, it would be from all economic backgrounds. It doesn't, distinguish between those who are from a lower socioeconomic background or those who are from higher, so it actually absolutely impacts across, all levels of society. And
just remind us again, Louise, what's the phone number, please, for Oasis House? Yeah,
so the phone number for Oasis House, our 24/7 helpline, it's 1890 264 364. So that's 1890 264 364. And if I can just also, Damien, just to say in relation to our court accompaniment service. So our court accompaniment service is still available. So I suppose the important message to get out there is that, services are still available and there are still support. So the outreach service can also be accessed through the helpline number.
Okay, very good. Louise, to you and all your staff and anybody that used the service, take care and mind yourselves, okay?
Thank you, Damien. Take care.
Thanks very much, Louise. Thanks for that. Some texts and comments coming in, and you have the numbers there, and also Oasis House. You can access them through the website as well. For any women in particular that are out there suffering from abuse, don't put up with it. Do something about it. The Gardaí are there to help you as well. Oasis House is there to help you. There is help out there. This is very, very important because very difficult time for so many women and some men, but mainly women. Alcohol can be an issue. A texter has texted in, why is alcohol still being sold if there's an increase in domestic violence? Surely alcohol is not deemed to be an essential thing. Another person has texted in about their matters regarding abuse. Going back to the COVID payments. Good morning, Damien. I'm a self-employed tradesman. I've been out of work on lockdown for almost 5 weeks. It annoys me that a particular construction site is still fully operational in East Waterford. Are the guards or others not supposed to be stopping this? Are they essential workers? They're non-essential workers. Why do I have to stop when others are working? And other people has asked about in South Kilkenny, a texter has texted in about gardening and matters such as that's taking place. Is that deemed to be essential? The issue of dogs really animating people this morning. There are more people out walking than ever in Kilcone, where I live, and other housing estates around Coos Bridge with their dogs. Some of them pick up the dog poo, fling it over the ditch. I've seen them and others just pretend that they're on their phones, and then the orange bags are hanging in trees, like Christmas decorations. That's from Mary. Be careful on the roads as well, please. A lot of people, because there's not as much traffic on, some people are breaking red lights. A texter in from somebody who was walking at the bottom of Rockshire Road and saw a lorry and 4 cars ran the red light. I was lucky I didn't get hit by the lorry, says this texter. Happy 18th birthday to Ava Thompson in Avondale. Lots of love from Nanny and Grandad in Turanina. Next, we're going to talk to Anthony, who had to wait a long, long time for his COVID test results. Now, keep your texts and comments coming in. I'm going to talk to Anthony Butler in a minute from Larchville. Other people texting about should be more bins for the dog poo. Laura Cullen has messaged me regarding 20 nightclubs around Ireland, including Waterford nightclubs, running a virtual live festival-style concert in order to raise funds for hospitals around Ireland. They raised $3,000 for the matter last Saturday. This Saturday, it's the turn of UHW. You'll find details on Facebook about that. Claire has texted in about the dog poo issue. Izzy has texted in about the lovely report she said on Havenwood and others talking about such matters. Anthony, how's it going?
Good, Damien, and yourself?
I'm good, thank you. I'm good. How are you feeling?
Great. Never better.
Good. You're in Larchville, Anthony Butler. Tell me a little bit about yourself. You developed symptoms the day before St. Patrick's Day, is that it?
That's right, Damien, yeah. I came down with a bit of a fever. Temperature was starting to rise constantly over the day. I had headache, cold, sweats, and aches and pains. So eventually, on Monday night, the temperature peaked to 100.8. So on the Tuesday then, I contacted the doctor and I was put into isolation.
Okay. How did you feel? How bad was it? Give us an idea of the symptoms, I suppose.
As they say, David, it's like a very, very bad flu. Now, I was one of the lucky ones that I was able to isolate at home and I didn't need any medical help. That I was able to take me paracetamol and keep the temperature down. And, like, you had aches and pains, like a very bad flu. But I was on the bed for nearly 7 days.
And with that, you're obviously thinking, OK, do I have this? What do I need to do? So you waited, firstly, 10 days for your test. Is that it?
That's right, Jay. I got tested on the 26th of March.
Okay.
And then I was waiting then for my test to come back. And I finally got my test results back last Monday.
Just on Monday. And it showed you were positive for COVID-19. So you had to wait 19 days for the results. Was that on top of the 10 or was it 19 altogether between the start?
No, that was 19 days waiting for the results of the test. Okay. In total, then, from the time I showed symptoms to the time that I got my test results was a total of 29 days. 29
days. Now, we understand.
Days, yeah.
We understand, and you understand, the delays and the wait and the pressure that the system was under. But the government had said that tests were going to be done as quickly as possible. So to wait 10 days for a test originally and 19 days for a result, and I know they had to send over a lot of tests to Germany. How did you feel when you were waiting so long for all those days?
Well, initially, like you're there, you're saying, do I have it, don't I have it, who can I talk to, where can I go, can I do anything, can I move? And then it just kind of passes by then, that you're waiting so long, you're saying to yourself then, or maybe I don't have it, that they're not coming back to me soon enough, that I'm one of the lucky ones that didn't contact the disease. And eventually then, I have to say, when I did get the phone call last Monday, it was a little bit of a shock to be told that I did have the virus. But there's a long, long time in between to be waiting around for the results of a test.
It is, yeah. And you effectively, you're over it now, even though you officially had it, you're over it in the sense that your body fought it without having to go to hospital. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right, Damien. Yeah, I'm as fit now as I ever was. Like, I think the 3 weeks isolation, I think, done me the world of good because I was able to rest up, and I'm fully charged again now, ready to go. And
you're self-employed, are you?
Self-employed, yeah, kitchen fitter, yeah.
Okay. So how did it work regarding being self-employed and being in self-isolation? Like the rest of your family, you just had to stay away from them, or how did that work?
Yeah, well, there's only 2 of us in the house here anyway, Damien, so I was lucky enough that I was able to move into the back bedroom, and I was able to isolate in the back of the house there. And, like, the only person that were in contact was my son. And luckily enough, when the information was given to the HSE, that none of them needed to be tested, that they were showing no symptoms whatsoever. So they got to go clear as well.
Yeah. And there were quite a few others. I know you were texting us as well there about it, that there's quite a few people in similar situations that have been tested and were waiting a long time. So now the government says they're trying to clear the backlog and everything should be done a lot quicker now. But what's your thoughts on the whole thing now?
Well, they are trying to do their best. I will agree with you there, then, but to be waiting 19 days for the results of the test. I mean, if I gave in blood in the morning, I'd have my results within 7 days. Now, I've been told, how true it is or not, that there's supposed to be a test centre out in Waterford Regional Hospital. Now, whether it's up and running or not, I don't know. So I think if they kind of speed up the testing, that they would get a better grip on what's going on and who needs to be isolated more so than anybody else.
I'd agree with you 100%. The testing is the key, and it's also the key to how we get out of this lockdown, isn't it? Because if they're able to have a system of testing that's a lot more accessible and immediate, even if it's only 1 or 2 days or 3 days, whatever the case may be, it'll allow us then to potentially get out of this a little bit quicker, won't it?
Oh, it would, yeah. Yeah, but in saying that, I mean, like if people do what they're supposed to do and go by the guidelines that the government are putting in, we'll be out of this sooner rather than later. Like, we'll be out of this and we'll have a summer.
Yeah.
And everybody can go to the beach.
Yeah.
That's my thoughts.
Yeah, no, I think you're right, yeah. What's your son's name? Give him a little mention.
Sean's the young fella's name.
Fair play to you. Fair play to Sean for looking.
He's grand, but I mean, all the rest of the lads, they were all fine as well. They were all after isolating. They were after isolating us, so they didn't come near us. So they were all grand as well, They just owned us basically, But look, we're all good. But we're on the right side of it, I mean, as I said, I'm one of the lucky ones. There's other people out there, like our guests during the week, who are very, very sick with it.
That's right, Barry.
And I know other people that were the same as well. But I mean, please God, everyone that gets it, it'll come through with good and healthy at the end of it.
Yeah, no, you're right, Anthony. It makes you appreciate things, doesn't it? Simple things.
Oh, it does, yeah. I've never done so much painting in my life, to be honest. I'm fed up for now this day. Thank God all the DIY shops are closed. There's no paint left.
Listen, Anthony, thanks, and mind yourself, and to you and your family. Do you want to give a little mention to anybody else?
Anyone that knows me should just stay safe, lads, and do what you're told.
Super. Anthony, mind yourself. God bless.
Damien, thanks a million, boy. Mind yourself. You too.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Anthony Butler there from Larchville. I think Anthony tells it very well and tells the story very well. As you heard, he's not angry. He understands the system that's there, but the importance of the testing regime to be ramped up. I know the government say they're trying to do that, but it's a good example because we just had Richie text us in as well. I had the test 24 days ago. I still haven't had any results. I was waiting a week for the test. That's from Richie. So again, it's not a criticism of the HSE. The HSE are doing great work, and some people say we can't be criticising the HSE. We're not. We're basically saying that some people have had issues that it means it's quite a long time, and that's a long time to wait. Now, obviously, the HSE want to do it quicker, and they are trying to do it quicker. I was working in the People's Park yesterday, says this texter. It was full of people walking and the skateboard park and swings. People need to be very, very careful. They need to cop on. They're putting themselves possibly and others at risk. With a text in, a message in from somebody who had sent in that 2 dead horses in the UK were proven to have died from eating bags of dog poo. It seems they're attracted to the smell of the cereal content in the dog poo, and it can affect their stomachs, and that it basically causes their stomachs to get poisoned. So think of that as well if you're throwing your bag of dog poo over the fence. Next, we are going to be talking about an adult matter with Bernadette. We're going to be talking about relationships, and in particular the impact of pornography on relationships. So if you have any younger ears listening, you may want to tune out for a few minutes. If not, stay with us. Now, in a minute, I'm going to be talking to Bernadette about relationships and about pornography, as I said just before the ads. A text in first from a lady. I waited 7 days for the COVID test and then 23 days awaiting for test results, total of 30 days. I rang the National Virus Lab 2 days ago and they gave me my results over the phone. And the number, if anybody's out there waiting on their tests, just go online and just check out the number for National Virus Lab or write this down, 01 716 4401. 01 716 4401. That's very interesting. That lady just literally rang and got the number. That's very, very interesting. Another person has asked about relationships, and this man who doesn't want his name mentioned, he had been abused in a relationship himself. He was kickboxed for 2 years by his now ex-partner. Drink and drugs were involved, and he had to get a safety order regarding that. And another woman has texted in about her abusive relationship. Good morning, Bernadette Ryan.
Good morning, Damien. You're keeping well, I think.
I'm keeping well, thank you, and good to hear you. You're keeping good yourself?
Yes, indeed. Touch wood.
Touch wood, yeah. We had a spokesperson for Oasis House on earlier talking about domestic violence and relationships, and
right.
We've covered that this morning. It's such an important matter, and the ads are on the telly and the radio, so we're not going to go into that just at the minute. It's an aspect of relationships we haven't covered yet in this slot, and thanks very much for talking to us. Since the, I suppose, proliferation of the internet, and again, any adults listening to this, if you have younger listeners listening to this, you may want to tune out for a few minutes. So, pornography and the idea of, I suppose in lockdown as well, men and women maybe using pornography for better or for worse. What advice in general, before we get into the details of this, what advice would you have for people that are listening to this regarding pornography?
Well, I suppose the main thing I would say about the use of pornography in relationships is be sure that you're comfortable with what you're both engaged in. You know, that there is no coercion around it, that one or the other is not actually engaging in something that they fundamentally find objectionable or that they're uncomfortable with. That would be the main thing I would say. You know, if both parties are comfortable with the use of pornography and if they feel it enhances their intimate sexual life, well, that's fine.
Like the majority of research on pornography, I'm looking at a Journal of Sex Research, the majority of research on pornography use within committed relationships has found such use normally to be associated with negative outcomes.
Yeah. And, there's it's like everything else, it's complicated and complex. There are a number of factors involved in that. Generally speaking, those kinds of outcomes are associated perhaps with just one person in the relationship investing heavily in the use of pornography. You know, what can tend to happen then is that and men tend to be more inclined to use pornography than women. And what can tend to happen is that one partner can be using pornography more and more, and therefore distancing themselves from the intimacy in the relationship, and sort of, it becomes easier. It becomes easier, it's kind of a solo performance, and the other partner can feel, particularly if it comes to light that pornography has been used in secrecy and, kept from the partner, they can feel, less desirable. They start, particularly women, it makes them very, very insecure, and, so therefore can have many negative, and both parties can end up expressing dissatisfaction with the relationship. Now, it's a little bit of a chicken and egg thing too. Which comes first? Was there already dissatisfaction? Did one partner turn to pornography for that reason, or does the use of pornography cause it? It can be either or,
Yeah, because obviously the first thing to say is it's an idealised, false, completely made up world. It's acting, and even people talk about the amateur videos that are going up. They're done for the camera. There's cameras on people unless they're done surreptitiously, which is against the law. For men first, men listening to this who are more accepting of pornography, and they can say, oh, it might help our sexual relationship with my wife or my husband, but let's say with their partner. You would really have to talk to your partner first about it, wouldn't you? Because it can lead to completely distorted views of what to expect from your partner.
Yes, absolutely. And again, I think it depends on the intention of the use of pornography? Is it that for addressing men that may want to bring it into their relationship, is it that they want to enhance the sexual enjoyment for both? Or is it that they're mostly attending to their own needs, which can be quite selfish and self-centered, Men generally tend to have a much kind of less guilty approach to the use of pornography, where women, it's still kind of, for many women, it's shrouded in shame. And, again, it depends on, there are different attitudes depending on gender, depending on age, depending on religious background, Men tend to use it for sexual gratification. Women who are comfortable with pornography tend to actually use it for a different reason. They do want to enhance their sex life, So there's two different reasons for using it. Also, partners can feel different about their own use about it, and then when it comes to light that perhaps their partner is using it, they can judge that differently, So it's a very complicated and complex thing. The other thing that influences it, Damien, in a relationship is whether one or both feel secure in that relationship. There's a theory, attachment theory, that goes back to our initial sort of attachment in life, that we carry that into our relationships. So we can either be secure, which means we're fairly secure in ourselves and comfortable in our own skin, or we can be insecure in a relationship and constantly looking for our partner to do us wrong, or, being jealous of maybe activities they're involved in. So when there's that insecurity in a relationship, pornography doesn't tend to help. Because again, as you say, with this idealized, fantasized world of perfect bodies and perfect orgasms and perfect sex and violins and everything, real life can't match up with that, So if one or other or both are feeling, even for men who have an interesting, for men who feel insecure in their sort of sexual prowess, as it were, the use of pornography can be helpful to them. It can help them to feel more sort of that their satisfaction. Whereas for women who may be insecure and low self-esteem, it doesn't help. It usually makes them worse.
Yeah.
So.
Again, as we've spoken about constantly on this slot, Bernadette, the honesty has to come into it. So the man, if it is the man that's looking at pornography, he should have the open relationship with his wife or partner to be able to say, listen, I'm just to let you know, I do look at some pornography, and to talk about it, and for her to talk about it with him. Yeah. And if she's discussed it, and if she says, no, that's horrible, you shouldn't be looking at that, what happens then? So, for example, does the man go off and use it for masturbation purposes, and then their relationship then goes down into a more difficult scenario, I wonder?
Well, again, I think, as I mentioned the last day, men and women have different attitudes to how they approach sex in a relationship anyway. You were taken aback last time when I said men relate through sex. And I was thinking,
I'd never be taken aback now.
in that they that's how they show their desire for their partner, right? So again, that needs to be in the context of, I really want to kind of improve our intimacy and our togetherness, and I am drawn to porn, and what do you think about that? If the person is disgusted by it, if the partner is disgusted by it, that has to be taken into account. But I also think as well, Damien, it's the content. So, there used to be a difference between erotica and pornography. Pornography generally tends to show it's made really towards the male.
Yeah, it's submissiveness, it's power, it's this idea that the woman is supposed to be submissive and she'll do whatever you want. And very serious issues that have been raised with teenagers especially as well, particular sexual acts which can cause serious hurt and bleeding and really serious damage to women. And it's just horrendous.
And about 50% of males are exposed to pornography by the age of 13, and this is where they learn about what they think is sex and sexual intimacy, but of course it isn't, So it really depends on, the maturity, I suppose,
yes,
to it, and in often cases that that isn't there, Also, we are, we even feel we're talking about something that we shouldn't be talking about when we're talking about pornography, And again, I suppose, going back to the erotica, which was about the enhancement of sexual intimacy, pornography kind of took that over and, really sort of went down a sort of a trajectory of, debasing both men and women, actually, So it really is. It's a delicate area. It's one that needs to be handled with caution, and definitely never forced on either partner in the relationship.
Yeah. You mentioned violins earlier. I'd never heard of the violins thing before, but I'll have a look out for that. Listen, Bernadette, thank you so much for joining us, and thanks for dealing with a very important topic in such a sensitive manner. I appreciate it, Bernadette Ryan. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Damien. Stay well.
Thanks. Good to talk to you. We've had a text in from a woman saying, I use it with my partner, never cause any problems. He's free to use it if he wants on his own. It's his own choice. I have no problem with it. Another person asking a different question. Keep your texts and comments coming in. That's the thing with this programme. We talk about many very different topics. People still texting about politics, texting about COVID, texting about nursing homes, texting about dog poo. Eddie phoned in to say it's not only horses that can be affected by dog poo, cows can also ingest whatever worms are in the poo from the grass and make them abort their calves. So there's another very serious issue regarding the dog poo. Stay with us. We're going to talk about the West Waterford Festival of Food next. Just to mention as well that Oasis House, the Darkness into Light walk in May has been postponed. The organisers are unsure when it will take place due to restrictions, possibly later in the autumn, but they'll keep people informed. Now, in a minute, I'm going to be talking to Gemma Tipton about the virtual food festival. Texts and comments still coming in. People putting flyers into your letterbox. Are these essential services? They can't be, says Tom. Another texter. A lot of information about people wearing masks. An article in the Examiner, Professor O'Neill saying we should wear masks. What are people talking about? Well, we're going to have Jeff Plant on to talk tomorrow about that. And abuse is wrong at every level, says this texter, whether it's abuse against a man, a woman or a child. Somebody saw a Facebook video of a child being abused. Let's talk about something positive. Gemma Tipton, good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. You're CEO of the West Waterford Festival of Food. It was to have kicked off today. Unfortunately, has to be cancelled, as we know. But you've got an innovative virtual food festival taking place. Tell us about this, please.
Well, it's, we went into such a strange world so quickly, and I went to bed last night feeling really odd, and I suddenly realised, we should be actually jumping into the food festival tomorrow morning. So what happened was when we all got sent home, we decided there's so much energy and excitement and brilliant people in the programme, and so many people love participating. And currently, we're all living with our families and living via the internet, radio and social media. So why on earth not do as much of a flavour of the festival as we can online through our social media channels for people to join in? And it's actually been really lovely and positive. We launched last week for Easter, and we're in full swing now.
OK, so how do people access it? I know you've got Mike Hanrahan from Stockton's Wing, an acclaimed chef doing a festival event from his living room. So tell us about accessing this.
It's through Facebook, Instagram and our Twitter account. So you'll find all the hashtags on our website, which is westwaterfordfestivaloffood.com. Or if you just put West Waterford Festival of Food into your search engines, you'll find it pretty quickly. And we put in Mike for tomorrow because he was actually meant to be doing his festival event at the Sailing Club. And Mike's the frontman of Stockton's Wing, but he also won awards for his seafood chowder. So he was going to be doing a live demonstration of his chowder at the Sailing Club, and everyone was going to get to enjoy it. So instead, tomorrow lunchtime, around 1 o'clock, there'll be a link to his feed via our Facebook page. He'll be singing songs, telling stories. There's recipes that he nicked from Ronnie Drew of the Dubliners and all that kind of stuff. And there's also be a recipe for the seafood chowder up online. So you can watch him, get inspired, find your taste buds are salivating and then make it yourself.
I was looking at some of the recipes, and some of it's fabulous. I've seen Stockton's Wing in the past. Mike is a fabulous performer. It's a great idea. How long do you intend keeping it going for, Gemma?
We're going to keep it going for 6 weeks. So we're into week 2 now, and as it's growing, people are coming into us with ideas as well, which is really lovely because it makes it very reflective of what people are doing, and people are coming up with ideas. So not only does it build on the programme, it also builds on what people in the area are interested in and want to do.
OK, well, listen, we'll keep an eye on it, and thank you very much. And hopefully the festival will be on later in the year, the full outdoor festival, all going well. Is that the plan?
Definitely. As soon as we're allowed to safely get together again, we'll be holding selected events. I think it's in our dreams that we could do the whole programme as it stands from start to finish, although we'd love to. But we'll do as much as we can before the end of the year. And of course, we'll be back for even more next year. Super.
Gemma, mind yourself, and you and all your family take care, OK?
Thank you. Lovely to talk to you.
And yourself, thank you. Gemma Tipton, CEO of the West Waterford Festival of Food. So their innovative virtual food festival is available through Facebook and through Twitter and through Instagram. So if you want to access it, please do type in West Waterford Festival of Food. That will bring you to the different links. A resident of Gracestew has phoned in, texted in to say about the amount of rubbish that's been thrown over a wall in the housing estate. Chairs, mattresses. It's shocking, says this person. Matt Cooper was on TV last night, says this other texter, to say that 70-year-olds could now leave their house. Is that true? We're going to be talking to our Dr. Jeff Plant tomorrow about that and about how people are getting on. So have your texts and comments coming in about that. Now, Bridget phoned in earlier from St. John's Park. Bridget hasn't seen her relatives in quite a number of weeks and feeling quite lonely. People do call into her and say hello, but she's isolating in that sense. And she said, would you play When Will I See You Again as the out song for today? So we're going to do that especially for you, Bridget, and for everybody that is cocooning. Thank you very much, Julie, for producing. Jeff is up next. Thank you, everybody, for all your texts and comments. As I say, phenomenal amount of texts and comments. I didn't get to all of them, but I've tried to give a representative view of them all.